Hi, and welcome to another episode of Maker Connections. I'm Paloma Fatley, and I am an engineering intern at Make Magazine. And this is a web show where we're going to be introducing you to people who are involved with Maker Faire this year. We have some great people on today that I'll get to in just a few minutes. But first, I want to remind everyone that if you have a question for the group, go ahead and ask it on the Google Plus Q&A. That's where we'll be able to see things live and go ahead and feed that through. So go ahead and get all prepared for that, because I know that there's a lot of questions that you guys are going to want to ask. These people are great. For this Maker Connections, we are joined by a classroom. This is Gardena Christian School, and we have Dr. Dejana's classroom. And so we're very excited to have them. Welcome, everybody.
Hi!
So they're going to be able to ask some of their burning questions live on air. If you're interested in doing this, you can go ahead and check out makerconnections.com. We have all the information about the upcoming shows. We have a couple that we're going to be doing right before Maker Faire where you get to see everything behind the scenes. So go to makerconnections.com and you'll be able to fill out all of the information that you want to know about that. Now, without further ado, I want to get through to our fantastic guest today from Because We Can. Hello. Hi, so if you could just tell us who you are, what do you do, how'd you get into it? Give us the quick rundown of all of your background information.
Sure. I'm Jillian, and this is Jeffrey. We run a company called Because We Can out of Oakland, California. We're an architecture and interior design company that also makes a bunch of stuff for our projects. So we make a lot of furniture and a lot of art props and a lot of other cool stuff, and we use big robots to do it. The way that we got started
is that we bought a robot
right.
and started making stuff. And then we were making stuff for ourselves, and then we were making stuff for our friends, and then friends of friends wanted stuff, and then next thing you know, we're just making stuff all the time for everybody. So
yeah. And so I went to school for design and sculpture, and Jeffrey went to school for architecture, and so our combined powers let us do what we do today.
That's great. It's like you guys are superheroes of building and making.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Should we show the robot and show a couple of the things that we can make?
That would be awesome.
All right.
So this is what's called a CNC machine. And I know it doesn't look like much, but it can make things. Now this is a cool piece because it was made using it's a prototype. It's actually a quarter scale prototype, so we made a little one first, and then we made the big full one that you can sit on. And this was made using a free program that you can get online called 123. You guys could make something like this and design it yourselves for free.
And then you can also make stuff like this. You make stuff like this, so look closely there, so it's like a nice little sculpture kind of guy. So it just carved that right out. We'll show it here in a moment so you can see how it works. But this is actually from a photograph. This is a sculpture that's at the Vatican, Italy, where a friend of mine took a bunch of pictures of a sculpture, and then there's a free 123D make 123D design app that you take all of those pictures and it makes a 3D model for you, and then with that 3D model you can then carve it out. So this is out of a nice chunk of hardwood, But these machines are amazing. They can pretty much make anything you can imagine. So.
Wow, that looks really great.
It can cut stuff out of metal. So this is aluminum. It's pretty thick, as you can see. It can cut stuff out of plastic. Let's see, get that to show up nicely.
Right.
A little pretty piece. Here's another plastic piece you might recognize. Space Invader, anyone?
Very nice.
We can also do inlay pieces. So here's a piece of wood that's been carved out and then filled with a colored resin on the machine. Those mustaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a lot of work like that on your website, and it was just beautiful. I loved it.
We've been having a lot of fun doing a lot of inlay these days.
Now, if you go to Maker Faire this year, you might see these, which are a flat pack design bench. And this is just like the other bench that I showed, in that it is quarter scale, so it's smaller. And this one's kind of neat because it's flat pack, so it all comes apart into different flat pack pieces, like this.
That's great. So it's really easy to ship. You can just take it apart and fold it down into like an IKEA box.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's great. Those look so fantastic. And I love the details on the wings. Those are great.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So I want to go ahead and throw over to the classroom and see if you guys have a couple of questions. So, hi guys.
Hi.
So who has a question that they want to ask? Raise your hand. Anybody got one? I know that you guys have been thinking of some cool stuff. Oh, and we also have a question from online. We have Carly Caprio, and Carly wants to know, where do you get your materials?
Oh, we actually work with sustainable materials that we get from a company. There's a couple different companies that we buy materials from, but a lot of it is domestic, so it's grown in America, like the trees are grown in America and they're harvested sustainably, so there'll always be trees for them in the future to harvest, to continue making. So like this walnut that we're going to cut a little piece out of for a project here today as a demonstration, that we're making right now is sustainably harvested walnut from America, and the glue on the inside of the plywood is all water-based and soy-based and stuff, so it's all non-toxic. And
yeah, if you're looking to get materials, I would say you should just look at where your local distributors are, because every town and city has different distributors, and especially if you're in California, you'll be able to find locally sustainable materials really easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tip. It's always good to look locally to find the stuff that's cheaper and stuff that's easier in your area. You don't want to find a wood that's not indigenous to your area and then you make your entire project out of that if it's not easy to find.
Right.
Yeah, and then you guys are also really focused on the sustainability and finding things that are non-toxic and easy to work with, right?
Right.
We do. We use all either sustainable or non-toxic materials and finishes. Most of our finishes we use are water-based or waterborne. The finishes that we do use that are oil-based are, we like to use ones that are FDA approved for countertops and that sort of stuff, so they're completely non-toxic. You can eat off of them.
Awesome. That's a nice consideration to make, especially in the age of, that not being a big priority. So why don't you guys show us a little bit more around your workshop and let us see kind of what other tools and other projects you have going on.
Sure. Well, do we want to cut something out real quick first?
We're going to do that last.
Oh, we're going to do that last. Okay.
Yeah, spoiler alert for everyone watching, we're going to end with the ShopBot actually carving something live. So if you really want to see that working, that's how we're going to end the show today. So stay tuned for that. I think it'll be really fun.
So shall we go and show these walnut cabinets we're making first? So these are some cabinet pieces that we're making for a project called the Long Now right now. They're all walnut, and they were all made in our shop on the CNC machine. This is another piece that we're making for the same project, which is also made of walnut. It holds a little glass bottle, and it has their logo in the bottom. This piece is made of domestic Clara walnut, local to our immediate area in Oakland, and these are made of just Northern California walnut.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest, yeah. Indeed. Indeed. So there's a bunch of these cabinets. These are actually going to go under a spiral staircase. So there are all these like pie wedge shapes that are going to stack in a circle kind of pattern. So they're going to go, edge to edge, kind of like this. One will go up against the next one, just like that, and they'll fit under a spiral staircase.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Indeed, and it's going to be kind of a curio cabinet, so it's going to be full of all kinds of cool, interesting things that the Longmouth's going to put in there, and there's going to be, some of them will have glass doors on the front, and there'll be drawers and things as well, so it's going to be very exciting.
Now let's take you over and show you the manta rays.
Oh, and we also have a question. This is from Melissa and Allie, and they want to know, how old were you when you started making?
Oh.
Well, for money or just in general?
Probably just in general. I think that's when did the making spirit really kind of come to you?
Oh, we've always made stuff. I mean, before we started our company, before we bought the robot, we made a lot of stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
but I think even as children, I know I was involved in Girl Scouts, and I was highly involved in the art groups in my school, and I was making things all the time.
And I drew all the time, from a tiny kid, just drew constantly.
From like age 5.
Yeah, was just drawing like crazy all the time. So, yeah.
So just keep it up. Make it, if you're interested in it, just make whatever you can, whatever greets your fancy. Just find stuff and make it. Draw and imagine.
That's some great advice.
So another project we're working on right now is we're making these big fish for a zoo, and they're going to hang from the ceiling, and we're going to show you those right now.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
So this is the body of a manta ray.
Ooh, look at that.
Wow, that's gigantic.
So he's gonna have his fins coming off.
Yeah, he's gonna be 9 feet wide when he's done.
And all
wow.
of his fins are gonna come off the sides, and his tail is gonna come off the back, and that's what all of these other little pieces are. So he's in the process of being painted. Looks good, guys.
Yeah.
That's great. And we have another question coming in from Gloria, and they're asking, what else will we see at Maker Faire? Because you mentioned the benches, but anything else from you guys that we might see?
Oh, yeah.
The project that the benches are going to be around, you might not even notice the benches, because we made these giant serpents that drive around. One has lights in it, and one shoots fire.
And they have tails that look like this. It's on the back of our shirt, actually, right there. That's the logo for the art group. So these tails, are on the serpents, and they're all on little wheeled cars. So it's really long. It's like a big train that drives around. It's really neat.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll definitely keep an eye out for those guys.
I helped make those with a group of people, and they're all going to be there, and they would love to show off that project too.
Awesome. All right, so what's this booth behind you?
Well, that's the paint room.
Yeah.
Jillian, do you want to?
So this is where those manta rays are getting painted, and there's a couple pieces in here right now. There's we're making manta rays of all sizes. So here's a little baby one. He's very cute.
Very adorable. And so in here, this is where you use all water-based paints as well, right?
It's only water-based paints in this room. We also use this room as a clean room. So we kind of vacuum it and clean it up, and this is where we do like a resin pour.
So the inlays that you saw, the inlay example that we saw with the mustaches earlier, we did that in here, so it's super clean when you're pouring the epoxy into the carvings.
But all of our finishes that we use in here are water-based or waterborne. We don't do anything flammable in here.
Yeah, or safety, toxic or oil-based or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, for safety reasons and for health reasons.
Right.
Awesome. Good to know. And it looks like that's a really nice place to have when you're building stuff, is to have a place where you can have it dust-free to be able to get the perfect finish.
Right, dust-free, and then also, as you can see, it just gets covered with paint, so it's nice to have a place where you can be really messy when you're painting. Because,
and then clean up and repaint every couple months. Yeah.
Because painting is messy business.
Yep. All right.
So let's roll back over to the machine and do some talking about the different bits.
Yeah. Sounds great. So these machines that you saw can make anything, but part of that is that you have all these different tools that go inside of them. So the way that it works is it basically has a rotary spindle thing that holds one of these bits and spins it really, really fast, and that cuts through the wood. So there's all kinds of different shapes for those bits. Like this guy right here is this is just a straight flute cutter, it's called. So it's just a straight cutter, and it will cut just flat edges out. So the kind of outliney sorts of things. And those come in a bunch of different varieties. They're all fancy. Like this one has like crazy spiral action, and then this one has like dual spiral action that works in both directions at the same time, which is really awesome and fantastic. And then there's even special fancy ones that are like, you know, fine points and such. Like so that the mustaches that you saw were carved out actually using this little guy, because you're able to get like really fine lines and stuff like that as he's moving around and doing his job.
Or
really big ones, yeah.
Big, fat, fine, pointy lines.
Very nice. And we also have another question that just came in. How many robots have you made?
How many robots have we made? We don't make robots. We use robots to make things.
Right.
We do make art pieces that look like robots.
Yeah, like the one you showed before. I saw one of those at a previous Maker Faire when you guys exhibited.
Well, and we are doing a project right now at the Long Now where we're helping build a robot that writes on a chalkboard. So it's a giant chalkboard robot that's going to write on a chalkboard. That's a huge thing. It's very exciting.
That's true.
That's true. So
that's awesome.
But we more use robots to make things as opposed to making robots.
So if people want to go and see these projects that you haven't finished or see ones that you've made in the past and kind of their progress, what website should they go to?
They can go to becausewecan.org.
Awesome. And oh my gosh, we have another question coming in. People are really excited about this. So they said, have you created pieces to beautify cities, like park structures, art installations, and where can they see them?
Oh, well, actually, we made a pair of, we've done some of that, yeah. And actually, if you're here in the Bay Area, down in San Jose, there's an art gallery called Amodonomy that we've done a bunch of work for in the past. And we made a pair of rolling mini art galleries for them. So they're like these really cool little buildings that are on wheels. They're pretty big, but in terms of a building, they're small. And they can roll them out on the street, and then they actually open up. Like, they have a little roof that unfolds and a little staircase that comes down, and they have little gallery shows inside of them and stuff like that.
Yeah, they bring them out whenever San Jose has their First Friday event.
Yeah.
So they are right downtown there, and they roll them out, and then they're large enough that they have artists inside of them. Sometimes they have performers inside of them doing art or doing music, and they sometimes use them as tiny galleries themselves where they display art or magazines.
And then we're doing a big project right now for the Hattiesburg Zoo in Mississippi, and that has a couple large pieces that are actually outside, big gear things that turn, and really cool stuff that we made for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw those pictures on your website, and they're really interesting looking. I love them. Thanks. And we have another question in from Tyson in Dr. DeJona's classroom, and Tyson wants to know how many people work on a project at a time.
Oh.
It depends on the project. Some of our more complicated projects, we have almost all of our staff working on them, but we typically have people focus on one aspect of the project. We have people that are good at different things. We're all a small team, but we all have strengths in different areas.
Well, one of the things that's fantastic about the robots is that they let you do a lot of work just on your own. So there's some projects where one person by themselves will make a huge crazy thing, or maybe one person with someone else helping them, so it's only two people making, really good stuff because the robots are doing a lot of the work. So
Yeah.
it's a really great way to go.
Yeah, that's great for efficiency and workflow. And we have another question from Jada in Dr. Dejana's classroom. And Jada is wondering, how long does it take to make the artistic installations that you've done? Or, even like a typical project, what's the timeline?
Cool. Well,
it's usually a couple months from design phase to final installation. We spend a lot of time just drawing and making prototypes and making the design, making sure that it's what we want it to be and what the client wants it to be. And then when all that's worked out, then we go into fabrication and we have the robots cut out all the parts. And then it's just painting and assembly and making sure everything functions the way we're looking for it to function.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then, man, we have so many questions coming in for you guys because you're so interesting. We want to know, what is the biggest project that you've ever made?
Biggest project?
Well, we technically are an architect, so we have done some building. And
yeah.
Those are pretty big.
Yeah.
But for things that go inside of buildings, the rolling kiosks that we made that we were talking about earlier
they were pretty big.
They are like 14 to 16 feet tall by...
They're not 16 feet tall. They're
12
like 12
feet tall.
Yeah, they're 12 feet tall.
By...
like 9 feet long, I think.
So they're pretty big. They're like a small room.
Yeah, they're like a little house.
The zoo project that you were talking about a moment ago, we made that big gear piece that's going to go on the wall, and that was...
that was like 9 feet wide, 10 feet tall, something. It was big. It was one of the biggest things the shipping company had ever shipped.
Yes.
To go to the zoo. So.
I think it was just under 10 by 10 feet.
Uh-huh.
And it's all moving parts. So a big moving gear wall that's 10 by 10. That's pretty big.
And then what's the smallest thing that you've ever made?
We've made a lot of small things.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We made boxes for toys.
Yeah, we made some little toy boxes. They were about this big.
Yeah.
We've made some little badges and medallions that are, about like an inch by an inch.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And we have a question. Have all of your projects been in the U.S.?
No.
No. Actually, most of them have been, but we've made things that we've shipped overseas to Australia and to England, to Europe. Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, we had a client we were working with in England for a while, making some flat pack furniture out of post-consumer products.
And the cool thing about that is, we could do the designs and prototype here and cut one out, but then just send them the CAD file, and then they could use robots in England to cut out all of them. So we didn't have to make them all here and then try to ship them to Europe. They could just make them there from the designs that we did here. So, because you can just email the file, and then people can make stuff. So.
Much more efficient and saves on shipping costs.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah, that's great. And so we have a question from Cameron, and it says, I really want to know what was the most challenging project?
Ooh, that's a hard question, because they're all challenging in their own way.
True.
They all have something about them that we have. And most of the projects that we're doing, there's some part of it that we've never done before. And we're having to learn as we go and figure out how to make it work. And so every project has its own challenges.
Every project has a lot of challenges, and we always try to push ourselves to make the project as interesting and fantastical as it can be. So we're often doing, like Jeffrey said, things that we've never done before, and trying to figure out how to make it work.
Right, and also, you do a project and you do a good job at it, and then somebody gives you a bigger project next, and so then you get bigger and bigger projects, and so things get
more and more complicated.
More and more complicated. Yeah, exactly.
The most recently we finished that big gear wall, and we did a lot of, for the zoo project, which you can see on our website, we did a lot of pieces with a lot of moving parts, which is something that we haven't done very much of until that project. So that was pretty challenging to make everything work seamlessly. It has to work all the time for years.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. We also have a question from a student named Finn, and they want to know what inspired you to create Because We Can.
Well, We always knew that we wanted to do some kind of creative business, and we actually, what inspired us to start our business is we bought one of these machines that we still use today.
Yeah.
These big CNC robot machines. And we started making things with it, and we just fell in love with the way that you can design things on the computer, and then you can send it to this machine, and it does most of the work for you, and then you pull off the parts and put it all together.
Yeah.
And we've been going strong with that workflow ever since.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, those machines really can just completely open up your possibilities for what you can create.
Oh yeah.
It's really your creativity is the only stopper at that point.
Right.
It's true.
It's true.
And we have another question from a second grader, and they want to know, what materials would you use on really tall buildings?
Oh, on really tall buildings, you'd probably have to make them out of steel, because it's one of the only things that's strong enough to stand up really, really tall.
Although they are making skyscrapers out of wood these days.
They're starting to use big wood timbers. Yeah, indeed. But if it was really, really tall, it would probably be made out of steel. And then the outside would probably be like glass and stone, which is what most, or concrete maybe, which is what a lot of the really, really tall buildings are made of.
That's why when you drive around and you see a building going, it's all those dark sticks and it looks like a Lincoln log project. Those are steel beams getting put together.
Exactly.
To make giant skyscrapers.
But these days, those steel beams are cut out by robots very similar to this one that we have. And all the parts just fit together perfectly when they get out to the job site. So it's pretty becoming kind of the uniform way to make stuff. So, or to make big things. Yeah.
So I think we have time for one final question from Dr. Dejana's classroom. And this is from a third grader, and they want to know, what skills would a kid need to be able to use machines like those?
Well, pretty much what you'd have to do is you would have to learn how to make drawings on the computer. So that's not very hard, and there's free software that totally will let you do it. But you can use SketchUp. There's the 123D stuff that we were talking about before. That's all free and really easy to learn how to use.
Yeah.
And some of that you can just drag and drop parts together. If you know Minecraft and you play Minecraft, for example, it's very similar to how you build all the little parts on the computer to make your thing. And so really just learning how to draw and how to make 3D models on the computer would teach you everything you need to know to be able to make stuff using the robots.
Yeah, that's great. So just to reiterate, that software that you were talking about was SketchUp and then 123D. So if you look for those online, you'll be able to find those. And I've used them, and they're very easy to use.
And they're both free. So yeah.
Awesome. So before we kick over to the ShopBot, I do just want to say thank you so much for being on here. You guys are fantastic, and the work that you do is just beautiful. If you can, go to their website, and it's becausewecan.com, right?
.org.
.org. Okay, sorry, becausewecan.org. Definitely check it out. The pictures on there are just beautiful of the work that you guys have done. So I've really enjoyed it, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing your work at Maker Faire, which is next week. Oh my gosh, so exciting. Okay, so if you want to see information on the Hangouts next week, go to makerconnections.com, and you can go ahead and see times and where we're going to be. It's all going to be behind the scenes stuff, so definitely check it out. And so let's go ahead and see this machine working.
So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting out some pieces that are similar to those cabinetry pieces out of walnut that we were showing you earlier. There's a piece of material on the bed here that is the same walnut, and so we're going to just cut through that. And we're using a straight cut bit that looks very similar to this.
There it goes.
All right, so that is so cool. Thank you so much for everybody watching today. That is a ShopBot in action. So definitely check them out at becausewecan.org and check out makerconnections.com to see the upcoming information. So I look forward to seeing all of you at Maker Faire. Come up and say hi, and you can win yourself a high five. And thank you so much for staying with me today for this half hour. I've truly enjoyed it. And thank you so much to Gardenia Christian and Dr. DeJana's classroom. Thank you so much, guys. And I look forward to seeing all of you at Maker Faire.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.